Hey, it's your financial maven, Samantha Besnoff, CPA, and after almost 25 years in the accounting world, I've decided to share my insights and passion about money. Knowing your money and hopefully feeling less stress about your money is what I call being financially empowered. Welcome to the Your Financial Maven podcast. Welcome to another episode of Your Financial Maven. So today I have with me Kris May, who is president of the Practical Wealth Solutions and host of the Practical Wealth podcast show. Kris's key focus is empowering financial freedom through timeless wealth principles and knowledge. I'm excited to have you here today, Kris, because you've been doing planning for individuals for more than 35 years, and I know that you have passion for helping your clients save money, making sure they can live their best life. I know that your primary focus on financial planning is to help families and individuals become financially free following principles, which we will chat about in a little bit. And I'm just so excited to have you here. I mean, we kind of grew up in similar areas, near Philadelphia. So it's nice to chat with someone. Yes, absolutely.
Go Birds.
Yes, go Birds, go Phillies, right? They're doing pretty good this year. So welcome, Kris, to Your Financial Maven.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Let's have some fun.
Yeah. All right. So before we get into kind of what we're going to chat about today, what is money?
I always tell people money is green paper you exchange for goods and services. And so it's not evil, it's not good or bad, it's just green paper. So the more of it you have, the better your lifestyle, the better your services. And I think money is a result of creating value in the marketplace. So when people say, I need more money, you're asking the wrong question. You should be asking, how can I serve more people?
Oh.
How can I solve more problems?
Yeah.
Because the result of you got to develop your skills. So you have skills that are in demand, then you're trading your expertise for money. That's all
very
capital
true.
Exchange.
Right.
And so I think people don't know where it comes from. Most people operate, especially younger people, are like, you have a wood stove. It's like, give me heat and then I'll give you some wood.
Right. It doesn't work that way. You need the wood. But have you shifted that green paper money to digital, especially our younger adults? It's still green money, but it's digital, right?
I'm old. So
We're not old. We're seasoned.
Yes,
We're seasoned.
Yes. Older, right? And so, it's really total digital. I don't ever have any cash.
And it's interesting because I've chatted with my son. I've chatted with some of his teammates when he was swimming at college, and some of them with the cash, they take it and they feel like they have to get rid of it right away because it's physical and they don't want to have it in their pockets. So they'd rather the digital way of paying.
We did a layover in Sweden and they don't have any cash.
Yeah, it's all cashless. Look at Citizens Bank Perk. They're cashless. They actually have reverse ATM. So if you bring cash, you have to put the money into the ATM to get a card to then use it at.
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
Right, so, yeah.
Hershey Park near me. Hershey Park is cashless for the most part.
Yeah, my daughter just went to Dorney Park. So now we're talking to all Pennsylvania stuff,
I love
guys.
Dorney Park.
And I don't have any cash. So I sent her money. She had this little app. She don't have any cash. Green light. You have little kids.
Yeah.
So that's where it's going. But the problem with that, it makes it easier to spend. Same thing like with casinos. Like you get these little chips. Like people ask, can I have a couple of chips? I used to go on these trips and it's like, this is money.
Right.
So I never lost the fact that this is money. This is not a chip. We're not playing Monopoly.
It's real money. And you're right. People, even with the digital age, having to remember that. It's still money. That's where this financial literacy comes into play. That's why I'm talking about understanding money, because people need to pay attention.
And the cool thing is that, because I know you're CPA, financial literacy is accounting.
Yes, it is.
That's the language of money. So what I've realized, even in my practice, is I'm moving towards something we do called cash flow mapping.
Okay.
Because when I listen to people, it's like, okay, and it's Ryle, the richest man in Babylon. Part of all your earnings worth to keep, but it's spend less than you make. Whether it's your business or whether your household or both, really, because a lot of people, they don't know what your life costs. And so you don't know what the business needs to pay you. And they're commingling and they're robbing Peter to pay Paul. And it's a mess.
Absolutely.
We have to sort that out first. So I find that most conversations starts with cash flow. Can you spend less than you make? And what's coming in and what's going out and track.
Exactly.
Even if you're in business, your income is fluctuate. You got bills that don't fluctuate. You know what they are.
Right. You have your fixed bills, but they're variable sometimes. Gas, electric, it's a fixed bill, but the amount changes.
So what I do is we sort people out and we say, look, I have them have an income account on their own personal side.
Right.
And then you want to have a fixed bill account because you have certain static numbers.
Correct.
Then I want variable, gas, eating out, They're the same, but they fluctuate. And then I want a separate account for saving 15, 20% of your gross income. So we store it out. So instead of budgeting, which we say is looking at history, like driving a car, looking through the rearview mirror, and you want to tell your money where to go instead of asking where it went. So when it hits your account, you assign it a job. So you know, okay, every month I got $3,800 a month. That's what your life costs. So here's your net income, here's your saving, and then here's your fixed income. And what's left is the money you have left over for variable. So then we have actual variable. So like you have 1,500 left over and you only spend 1,000, okay, you have a surplus of 500. But yeah, I people at 1,500 left over, just spending 2,100. So you have a $600 negative. So you're either making up the difference because money counts itself.
It does, yes.
And so it's either drawing down on your savings or you're financing it with credit card.
And the numbers don't lie. Like the numbers are there. If you're bringing in so much a month, that's what you're bringing in. It's not going to be different if that's what you're bringing in. Now, you might get extra. You might get a birthday gift or go to the casino and win some money, but numbers are there.
I took a look. If you can't get control of that, you can't win.
You're right.
Right? If you can't control your income statement, somebody will always control you.
Yeah, very true.
Benjamin Hardy, in one of his books, it says all progress, and I think it's from AA, all progress begins with the truth. So you need to look at your numbers or get with somebody to look at your numbers somebody tell me different stuff going on in their business with their investing business. Okay, you sign up for all these summer programs for your kids, but they're a little bit out of your budget, but that tells me you weren't paying attention to what your life cost. So that's what I hear when I talk to them. So if you and I look at their numbers, we're not emotionally caught up in it.
Very true. Right. There's no emotion there.
We see stuff differently than they do.
You have 5 principles of personal finance. I'd love to hear, you can either share all 5, you can share a few of them, but I'd love to hear when you talk to your clients or others about those 5 principles. And what do you see as you're talking to them, like kind of the light bulb moment hopefully goes off for them?
Hopefully. It's not the first 5 minutes or so, I guarantee you. But what I'm trying to ask people is what principles do you currently use in your life? They're like hard work and, max out my 401k. I mean, they don't really have any, basically. So let me tell you what we believe. And what I do is I have a 1-page financial plan that when I get their data, it lines it up with the principles so we can see where there are shortfalls or what have you. So I'll go over all 5. So principle 1 is save. Save what? 15, 20% of your gross income. So you make $100,000 a year, Curtis went for saving 15 or 20. Now, let's define saving, because what people do is they conflate saving and investing.
True. Very true.
Oh, I'm saving for my retirement, my 401k. That's marketing talk by Wall Street, not savings. So let me define savings. You tell me if you're saving or not. Safe, liquid, accessible, guaranteed. Okay. So savings has no risk. So it's boring, but you need liquidity, right?
Absolutely.
Which is principle 4. So I want you saving, and I want 6 to 12 months of liquidity.
Right. It's rule of thumb is 15 to 20%, at least 6 months. It's a rule.
Right.
It's not, you have to do it, because I do say to people, start somewhere to get into the habit. And as you can continue to then move to that area, then you can get to the rules of thumb.
Yeah. See, they save for a house, save for a down payment. And so what they're doing, that's just delayed spending.
Correct.
So they save what I call drain the tank.
Yeah.
Start over, save it and drain the tank. And so I teach people to save it somewhere eventually where you can have access to your capital with uninterrupted compounding. And that's a strategy. So my framework is principles drive strategy, strategy drive tactics.
Love it.
I start with
Right.
I do financial products. I'm an insurance agent, but the products don't matter. They're just tools of implementation.
Absolutely.
So I never start there. I want you to save. And I teach people, look, here's a tip. Set up a wealth capture, or we call it in our system a wealth coordination account. And then you set up a checking account. And then if you work a job, take that 15,000 divided by 26, which is like 576. And then before you do anything, put it into your wealth coordination account. And the purpose of that is to buy things that make money. Okay. It doesn't come out before it makes the money. So that's the first thing. Savings must be automatic and systematic. It can't be like a willpower. Because I say you got to stamp in your brain. Part of all I earn is mine's a keep. Because what we do, our default position, if I pay my bills, if I have any money left over, I'll save it. Because the problem is if you leave it all in one account, you'll spend it.
You're right.
So you've got to segment it in different accounts. So I probably have 5 business accounts and 4 personal accounts.
Okay, so I'm glad a particular bank that I use follows the profit first kind of methodology of having your checking account, having your savings account, having some other, my estimated taxes, my rent kind of thing for my office, but paying myself first, the percentage of paying myself first. But I do that for business. And then, for home, we don't just have a checking savings, like a tied in our bank account. We have a money market. We have other things.
The what happens is if you see it all, you'll spend it.
You're right.
You can have a lot of money in your operation account, but what happens is I can have money in my profit or my wealth capture account, but it's invisible. The tax accounts, even though it's there, I try not to tap into it every now and then. Like, well, I need it.
And I think it's okay, right? I talk about grace when it comes to understanding your money and using your money. If you have to delve into it because there's something, it's okay. Try not to do it all the time.
I'll put it on a credit card. When you're using consumer debt, so I believe in borrowing money. I believe you borrow money to make money and not for stuff. But what you've done is you're using future earnings as collateral, or you're spending money you've not yet earned. That's consumer debt. So that adds to your fixed bucket. And what people don't really count that we talk about a lot in our practice is opportunity cost.
Yep.
And they don't really teach that in personal finance. And that's costing millions of dollars over your lifetime. Literally.
And if you go back to some of my episodes, and even if you talk to my kids and you talk to other friends of mine, I talk about that all of the time because people don't understand you're buying something and giving up for something else.
It's always a something. Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Another person talked about it.
And so we really go into that and quantify it.
Nice.
And so I'll give you the 6 principles. I'll talk about transfer. So save,
right?
Maximum protection.
Okay.
So I always tell people, look, Curtis is the defensive coordinator. I don't give investment advice, okay? And so defense wins championship. So maximum protection is playing defense. You want to transfer risk. So insurance is to transfer risk because the purpose of insurance is to indemnify you, which is to make you whole. And we look at all of it, right? So you look at your auto. Most people are underinsured with their auto. They run around with minimal coverages.
You could say the same for life insurance because I'm a life insurance agent too. And I don't think people realize that you might be getting it from work, but that's not transferable in the sense of if you leave that job, you now don't have life insurance.
Right. So most time the word is portable. It's not horrible.
Correct.
So when we look at the maximum protection across the board, but I teach people to look at everything. So I want to look at their auto, their home, and I do it in order because I want to show them stuff that they know I don't make money on. Because, I'm an insurance agent also. So I want to kind of take them across the board because I want to teach the principle of maximum protection. So we go through all that with people. Do you have a will, power of attorney, healthcare? And then what we're going to start doing in this summer, my wife said attorney, so we're going to start offering trusts. And so with the life insurance now, so it's like, well, what's the human life value? If they're 35 and they make $100,000 a year, I'll ask them, how much insurance, I won't say should they have, how much insurance can they have?
Right. There's a difference.
What does we think they're worth?
Yeah,
right.
There's a difference.
And so if you multiply that times 25, that's how much insurance you can have. If you're over 40, like 40 or 50, multiply your income times 20. If you're over 50, which I am now.
Me too.
You can multiply your income times 15. If you're over 60, times 10, because you're trying to replace your income. And so with us, we use a mixture, not to get too product oriented. Like when I'm solving for human life value, especially if they're younger, I use term because I want the most coverage you can get for the least amount of money.
Right.
But term is the most expensive in the long range, and you only less than 2% of term policies ever pay claim.
Right.
So that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. People just outlive the term. So the foundation is permanent, and we teach infinite banking. So we use maximum efficient policies. And so out of that 15%, we run 10% of it over through a properly structured dividend paying whole life. But it builds a death benefit up to 120 that I know is guaranteed. That's why I don't use other products, because my third principle is full replacement of death guaranteed.
Okay. Interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's only one product that I can say that with.
Right.
So that's why I don't use other stuff without even getting all the other mechanics.
Right.
Like,
Right.
it's guaranteed. The fourth principle is 6 to 12 months of liquidity. And my fifth principle is velocity. So there's two schools of thought when it comes to money. And there's what I call the accumulation theory, buy and hold, dollar cost average, get out of debt. The S&P is the center of the financial universe. And the goal is to, hope the market does well and accumulate the money. So most typical financial advice is built on hope. And I don't like hope. I like hope.
Right. Right.
What's that movie from Star Wars? Revolutions are built on hope. Revolutions are built on hope, but financial planning is not.
True.
Okay.
Very true. Has to have a little more solid plan.
Yeah, so you gotta have certainty. I believe there's an economic value of certainty. So I want to put guarantees under what we're doing. And so let's talk about investing for a sec. So when I talk about investing, investing is more about becoming something. It is about buying something.
Very true. And it's true because that theory isn't just from a financial standpoint. It can be for your own personal goals, for your business goals, your life goals. It's very true.
But transformation is work, and most people don't want to do it. So they just abdicate their responsibility because Wall Street tells you you're not smart enough. You don't have the time, the temperament, training to personally manage your money. So give your money to us. So let us charge you fees for 34 years.
And there's a downside to that too, because if you're going to hand it off to somebody and just say, just do it, and you stop paying attention, that's not good either. Even if you hand it off, you need to pay attention.
You got to pay attention. I mean, it's your money and nobody's going to watch it like you will.
Right.
And so our 3 rules of investing are invest in what you know or invest in knowing, invest in what you can control or influence the outcome of, and don't chase return. And so our 5th principle is velocity because our clients want to become financially free. So those principles are designed to help you become and remain financially free. They're not my principles. I'm not that smart. I don't have any original thought. Okay. But if you study people with money, what's the first thing they want? Mr. Wonderful will go, listen, if I put $500,000 in your deal, how soon am I getting my money back?
Right. What's the return on investment?
Or what's my return on investment? Or what's the return of my investment?
Right.
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 And first, right, do I want a return of my money? But that's velocity.
Yeah.
Money, that's the economic principle. That's not an investment. Just the Burr method in real estate.
Right.
You know, in different businesses, is how fast can you turn over this money? I spoke at the Laundromat Millionaire Conference a couple of years ago, and velocity is bigger, more efficient machines, wash machines, and dryers, so you can get more people in and out the mat path. So that's velocity, turning over money. So then they focus on cash flow. What Kiyosaki says, an asset is something that puts money in your pocket. So income follows assets.
And I think that's an important thing in general. And I've talked about this before. In some ways, I look at cash flow. If you've got to know what's coming in, you got to know what's going out. Before you can even build a spending plan or a thought process or a goal, you have to know what you have. And it's okay to talk about it. Like, I talk about money to my kids. People think I'm nuts sometimes. They know what my husband and I make. They understand when we had a mortgage on our house, what it was. They understand. We talk to them about their student loan debts because I'm not afraid to share with them because they need to understand that too. Because if we don't have these conversations, we're never going to get out of that cycle. You shouldn't feel ashamed about your money.
Think about the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. The whole title of the book is Rich Dad Poor Dad, What Wealthy People Teach Their Kids That the Poor and Middle Class Don't. So to your point, we have to talk about it.
Yeah. And it's hard, right? As parents or caregivers or whomever, you don't want our younger generation to falter per se, but we have to allow them. And I've heard this term, I use it with my younger son, failing forward is how you're going to learn. And that doesn't mean you want your kids or yourself to go into a huge amount of debt and building up that debt. But if you go to spend something, again, cost opportunity, you go and buy that Lamborghini when you know maybe you shouldn't, because now you can't pay for XYZ, pay your mortgage, pay your bills. It's okay. Now you got to determine, how do I move forward and correct that so I can have my velocity, have my cash flow, build my wealth, that kind of thing. It's a mindset, and it's okay to talk about it.
And so in the velocity method, cash flow is buying assets, because the financial freedom, I use the Jim Rohn definition, being able to live like you want to live from the income from your personally invested resource, rental income, your businesses that work without you. And so I think that most people don't have that goal. They have the goal of building this big nest egg, hoping to live off of the money and not dying before you run out of money. So think about this. If you did that, like if you maxed out your 401k, it still doesn't work if you run the math. Because let's say you had, I got $2 million in my 401k. Okay. So you make $100,000 a year. The state withdrawal rate is 4%. So now you're getting 80. So in inflation, that $100,000 lifestyle costs 140 or 50. So you have to invade your principal to maintain your lifestyle. And then you don't know what the tax rate is coming out, as opposed to IRA, 401ks or qualified plan, defer taxes. Here's the more accurate word. They postpone taxes, and they postpone the calculation of this.
And you're right. Tax laws, we're in an election year, and we have a tax law from 2017 that a lot of things are sunsetting or going away in 2025 unless something is done by Congress, and there are some changes. And you can't predict in 20 years where things are going to be. Who knows, in 20 years, maybe this postponed or deferred tax off of your retirement, maybe it'll only be at 5%, you're pulling it out. Maybe it'll be at 0. We don't know. And I do individual tax work. I'm shifting more to small business consulting, but the clients that I do have that I do individual work, there have been clients over the years that I try to communicate throughout the year, try to tell them to change it, especially when the tax law changed, especially during COVID. And I do have some clients that they can't focus or they don't focus until it's tax time. Well, it's too late. You might owe more money,
late.
right?
That's true.
You might get less of a refund. And that happened this year. People didn't realize they were getting more take-home pay, but they weren't withholding enough. And people think this is some new phenomenon, and it's not. It's based off of the 2017 tax law changes. It just was delayed because of COVID.
And your number one wealth transfer is taxes. You have to get with a person like yourself that will go over that, especially if you're an employee. That's
absolutely.
And there's not a whole lot you can do about it. So I tell people, look, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. So I ask people, because it's your money,
right,
not my money.
Right. It is definitely their money.
I said, do you think in the future, will the government need more money or less? That's how you think about it, right? Well, which I'll show people the usdebtclock.org. So they're collecting trillions of dollars, right? But collect 4 trillion, they spend 6 trillion. And I'll cut the numbers off. I say, play your financial advisor. You're making 4,700, you're spending 6,800, and you're putting the balance on a credit card. What would you tell me? Oh, you need to cut your spending.
Yeah, you need to. Right.
So what happens is, do you want to have all of your capital in a joint account with the Treasury Department? I'm just saying.
No, you're right. And people forget it's not just federal, it's state also. And in Pennsylvania, it's local. You have federal, state, and local taxes. And I don't know where it's at in Pennsylvania, but I heard that they might reduce the income tax rate from 3.07 to I think 2.8%, which great. Okay, I won't have to pay as much state tax, but you have to remember that. And then on the flip side, self-employed. We're both self-employed. We have our own businesses. We don't only pay the employee piece of FICA and Medicare, Social Security, Medicare, we have to pay the employer piece. So we're getting nailed on self-employment tax too. And I do have clients that are like, why am I getting double taxed? I'm like, you are and you're not. You have to pay tax on the business income you earn, but you also have to cover your employment tax.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It is a lot.
This is a team sport. Like I try to act as what I call the macro manager, where I know a little bit about tax and but I don't try to do it, right? Like, hey.
Right, hand it off to me.
Expert. Here's the expert.
Right,
I'll hand off to you. Look, I will hand off to you. And then here's a good mortgage person. So I like to know, like when I network to find good strategic alliance partners because I see everything. My process takes me through everything. And I'm just trying to kind of like a mini family office, but I don't have the resources to do it that way. But kind of having people look at all their stuff. But really, like when I talk about velocity, which is principle 5, like in my podcast, the theme is kind of wealth outside of Wall Street. All I want to do is make sure that you understand the difference between an asset and a liability. You're liquid, you save money, you're protected, right? And then what you do with your money is what you want to learn how to do with your money. That's why, because investing is about becoming. So the 4 asset classes, really, if you look at like wealthy people, here's what they do. They buy businesses or build businesses. They buy real estate. It's paper is another asset class, but paper is more than equities. It's more than mutual funds in the stock market. A lot of people don't know that. I mean, we have clients that do private lending. You got to be more financially literate.
Right. And I do have people say, I don't have enough expendable money. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I'm doing this. And okay, so let's analyze that. Why are you living paycheck to paycheck? What are the things that you're spending? I mean, I'll be honest, our younger son is going into his second year of college and we're kind of figuring things out because financially his school's more than we expected it to be initially. Like we had done the plan thinking it off of one, and then the school came back, reduced our financial aid and made changes. And so it's a little frustrating. It's going to be a little tight, but we're shifting. We're trying to see where are our assets? Where is our cash flow to do this? We can do it. It's just not going to be pleasant for the next 2 years, and it's okay. But if you understand that and you can have a plan, even if you live paycheck to paycheck, you can still be financially free.
Yeah, because what happens is your number one asset is you.
Right.
So what do you invest in? Where does money come from? So you invest in your mindset, you invest in your skill set. That's where money comes from. If you want to invest, so I believe in investing in education, but I don't believe so much in going back to school. I would rather put 10 grand in a coaching program. I'll teach you specific stuff I need to grow my business. And so you'll find that wealthy people, if you study them, they invest in that kind of stuff. Coaching. I know people that spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in masterminds, in direct stuff, in getting around people that are smarter. Like I always try to be getting rooms where I'm the dumbest, brokest person in the room, because you have to stretch. And so you can make more money. And so again, it goes back to, you can't go to your employer and ask for more money, but you can go and say, okay, what does Jim Rohn always say? I'm a big fan of you. We'll figure out how we talk, but wages make you a living. Profits make you a fortune. Profits are better than wages. So I always tell my daughter or my clients, really, like, what do you know how to do? What comes easy to you that other people find hard? There's so many ways to make money right now.
Absolutely.
You can't come home and watch Netflix, right? You got to think about what are my skills or what I'm willing to learn or what can I do? It's called Think and Grow Rich,
Right.
Napoleon Hill's book.
Right.
And so you got to think about, you got to have a definite aim. I want to become financially free. And so now once you look at that and you go back to your cash flow, I listen to one of your shows and your guest said, if I look at your budget, I can tell what's important to them.
Yeah, you're right.
And so, because they tie all their money up in silos, what I call them, 401ks and 529 plans, things they can't touch. And so they don't have any access to capital. So if they were to see something they like, they can't do it anyway.
Because there's no liquidity there.
No liquidity. I emphasize liquidity.
Right, because there is restriction, which it's good to have a 529 plan for your kids for college. If you think that they're going to go to college, or even, I guess, from people who want to put their kids into private school, you can use the 529 funds for that. And you can get a state credit. Actually, in Pennsylvania, you can get a credit on your tax return for making contributions. But it's restricted. If you pulled that money out, not for qualified distribution, you're now tacking on 10% penalty. You have to think of those things. Same thing with retirement. Unless we had, like during COVID, there were some leeways with your retirement, but there were some restrictions. If you're not pulling out the funds for those things you're allowed to, you could get nailed. So it is sitting in there and it isn't as liquid as you might think.
And so what happens is now you've kind of put your money in a straitjacket. So that's where I preach liquidity, use, and control. So principles drive strategy. So saving is the principle. The strategy I teach is be your own bank. And then the tactic, which is a product that you buy. And I'm not going to go too deep in that on the show today, but I save insurance. So I use insurance in lieu of a 529 plan. Because think about this. I always tell young people this, I need a 529 plan. Okay, but if you got young kids, all the things you need to do with them between now and 18. So we've used it for, somehow my kids have found $3,000 summer camp in Michigan.
Listen, my oldest just finished his 15-year swimming career. He graduated college in May. And swimming is an expensive sport. I think any sport is expensive. I mean, my husband, when we moved back to the Lancaster area, he grew up in the Lancaster area. We made our living here. And we decided we didn't want to be tied to our house. So we decided to move into a home that was comfortable. We have a lot of friends who are living in bigger homes, which is fine. That was their choice. We didn't want that. And when we had the kids, I didn't work as much when they were younger because we wanted to save from daycare. But that allowed us to be able to do those things with our kids, to do more because my husband didn't want to be tied to the house.
Right. And that's what you want. You want to live the best life you can.
Absolutely.
So it's like you don't want stuff like our family. We like to travel. We went on like 4 to 6 trips last year.
Nice.
And still had my best business year ever.
There are times I sit there going, oh, I wish I had an extra room in the house, kind of just to get away. Everybody's home right now. So it's like, you've got a husband, the 19-year-old, the 22-year-old, everybody's home. And I come to my office to really get away sometimes to do work. And I have no regrets in the decision that we made to do that. But yeah, sometimes it's okay to go, oh, I wish I had this. But you know what? I've been able to do this instead. Go on the trips. Get my kids into sports that they absolutely loved and wanting to do. Send them off to college because that's what they chose to do. When we were graduating high school, the thing was you graduate high school, you go to college when we were growing up. Now, there's trade schools, there's 2-year community colleges, go right out into the workforce, go into the military. And we even said that to our boys. You don't have to go to college. If you want to, great. But we didn't say you had to go to college. You've got to think these things through and it's okay. You don't have to do that. Hey, it's time for a money break. Welcome back from our money break.
And so you want to put yourself in a position, like people talk about financial planning is not investment planning. This is the myth, which is morphed into. Financial planning is supposed to be 5-part. When you look, it's helping average families, not rich families,
Right. Average families.
build, save, invest, insure, and plan for financial independence. So investing is one of 5, but it's morphed into, people think it's investing. I don't even think it's about investing at all. I think it's preparing people, not predicting what may happen with Monte Carlo simulations. I think that last time I checked, I know I don't have one, a working crystal ball. Okay. So I want to prepare people, our clients, to be in the best possible situation, no matter what happens. Your plan's supposed to work no matter what. So you die, still supposed to work. Life insurance. You get sick, you got disability insurance. You've got laid off, you got 6 months to 12 months.
It's that financial freedom. I always talk about
Yeah.
being financially empowered.
Yeah.
Why I'm your financial maven, why I do what I do with the podcast and when I go to talk to college kids about their taxes, to be financially empowered. You have to do things you have to do, but to do the things you want to do too, and not feel shame, not be mad at yourself because you decided to do this right now instead of that, because you have the freedom, the empowerment to make those choices.
It's all about empowerment. So what I try to do, if I would boil down in a nutshell, what I think I do is my goal is to help our clients be financially empowered to make good decisions. I don't want to tell you what to think. I want you to think. I want to give you a framework. When stuff hits you, it's like, okay, what are my goals? Somebody comes at you with an investment. Okay. People say, well, Kris, what do you think about Bitcoin? I really don't think anything about it. I got clients that do anything. So I go back through my filter. Okay. Do invest in what I know. Do I know it? I got 3 books on. I started and just.
Yeah. I will admit I am terrible at reading, but I've been doing a lot more audiobooks across the genres, whatever, but business and all. But yeah, I do. If somebody asks me a question about Bitcoin or something, I am doing the research.
But I got people that are killing it. Okay. So it might work. Most people, it's a speculative asset. That's the best you can get. Because my kids ask me about it, but we're not giving investment advice on this show. Right. And so, but what I'm saying, my filter is, do I know it? Do I want to know it?
Right.
Okay. Can I control it? Can I influence the outcome of it? Does it cash flow? That's my criteria.
I love that.
If not, I'm posting return. And so what I want people to do is teach people to think like that. Is it an asset? Does it cash flow for you within 90 days of you acquiring it?
Right. I love this. Yeah. I mean, it is definitely true. What is the framework for that? So I have another question. Do you have any tips or insights for our younger adults? Financial literacy and understanding in our younger adults needs to be more robust, in my opinion. So what are your insights?
First of all, understand that it really starts with cash flow, having a conversation about cash flow and understanding, part of all your earnings yours to keep. I have my kids save 20% of every check they get.
Yep. I do the same thing. Yep.
Right. And so I'm going over that with my oldest daughter. She's in New York. So here's a budget worksheet. Let me see what you're doing.
Right.
So I'm restructuring her cash flow because it is a trap. So the default position is you earn money, then you get taxed, then you have your voluntary benefits, and then your net paycheck ends up in your account where you've got your fixed, variable, discretionary income. And maybe if you're lucky, you might save 5%. So the checking account, the way it's structured, is a spending account.
Yeah, it is. It is a spending account.
We teach people to start with a reservoir where your money goes into, we call it a wealth coordination account. We actually have a similar part of the bank you're talking about. I use another one on the personal side called current. And then what happens is now I want to make savings default position. Like you capture your money. And then what happens is we're going to figure out what are your variable bills, what are your fixed bills. And then you're going to just pull enough out of the reservoir to pay those bills. So you want to put a buffer between, okay, I got all this money, I can spend, I can do whatever. Then what happens is your income is going to go up, but you don't necessarily have to have your lifestyle go up in lockstep. That's called Parkinson's law. Expenses rise to meet income. You have to whip Parkinson's law. The other thing I would talk to young people about is a mentor of mine has a book called Kim Butler, Busting the Budgeting Lies. So I would pick that up. I would have them get The Richest Man in Babylon, Economics in One Lesson.
I mean, I told both my kids and I tell other people, if you can take a business course, take an accounting course, take something in that side, it helps. And actually my older son did take accounting in high school, and I think he took another one in college. I can't remember if he did. My younger one, see, my kids are night and day when it comes to all this stuff. I give them both the same principles. And it's not that they don't both save or take the 20% off of the gross. They think of it differently. My older son is a little bit more about the budget plan or the spending plan of trying to figure things out now that he's got a job and what am I making every month and what can I afford? And, he's living at home right now. And the younger one doesn't necessarily do that, but still knows it. Like, it's in his head.
Look, that's the start.
Right. It's a start. And I'm working on him. He's working really hard this summer. And I'm like, you need some discretionary funds for college this year. That's coming from your own pocket. But you also need to save.
Because here's the thing with the college thing. If they do that, they won't like take basket weaving.
Right.
Because I'm going to say, my wife and I are different because I'm more vocational.
Yes.
Like, I'd rather have you take accounting.
Right.
I know you're going to make money when you come out of school. Our history, I'm not sure what you can do with that. So it's liberal arts versus vocational stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm more
nothing wrong with that. It's just different.
It's just different. And so I grew up in a family of self-employed people. So my dad told me, you're never making money work for somebody else.
Right.
So I never got that go get a good job talk. I was in a supermarket business. Somebody told me I was like a black Alex P. Keaton.
Oh, I love it.
Never remember the family talk.
I love that. That's awesome. That's really fun. Do you carry your briefcase everywhere? He had a briefcase everywhere.
I had a briefcase. I was playing basketball and I realized, okay, the NBA is not looking for 5'11" shooting guards. So I started wearing my sport coat with my briefcase like my junior year in college. And then I was so young, I had to dress like I was 30 and married. So I always had either a shirt and tie or at least a cardigan with a tie on.
That's awesome. I love it. But yeah, it's okay to approach money differently. Everyone does. But the principles you're talking about and those ideals are the same for everybody in that regards. It's just how you go from there. And I think our young adults, like I said, the financial literacy needs to be a little more robust. I know school districts are working it. I know colleges to a level, but they get out of high school, they graduate high school, wherever they go, job, military, college, vocational school, community college, and there's no support. And that's where the debt comes from.
I would go back to, though, it starts at home.
It definitely does.
But if you don't know it, parent, I'm talking to you, then you can't teach it.
And there's a philosophy that actually a girlfriend of mine, and I talk about this all the time, save, spend, give. Teach your kids saving, spending, and giving. And I did instill that in my kids. Again, their approaches are a little different, but they have the knowledge that whatever's in their checking account, I tell them, that's what you can spend. Make sure you're putting the money away first in savings, that 10 or 20%.
Yeah, if you can save 20% of your income, I don't care what you do the rest of it.
Right. And then I do tell them, you know what, maybe set some aside to be able to give to charitable if you feel, charitable to give, right?
Which should be a fixed bill. So I teach that. That's a wealth principle. Giving is a wealth principle.
Absolutely. And not just for a tax benefit, because I will say it shouldn't be just for a tax benefit. It really should be coming, in my opinion, from the heart that you want to support, you want to give.
No, psychologically that if I let it go, it's going to come back.
Absolutely. But you're right. That checking account, that spending account, do with it as you want. But if you go down to zero, unless you're in dire need, I'm not helping you. Like, don't get me wrong. We do things for our kids, right? But you're making money, if you want to buy a $50 pair of shorts for swimming, go right ahead. I'm not doing it.
That's the hard part. Like, Dad, I'm trying to follow this thing. Okay, well, I do have them on payroll, so you can do some stuff to kind of support. But don't ask me. This is what this is for. So you have to budget this out. And what are you doing to make additional money?
Right.
I want to leave my job. Okay, well, security is not in a job. Security is the ability to produce.
Right.
So when I first said I wanted to get full-time in insurance, he goes, okay, just make money. He told me you never make your money work for somebody else. Just make sure you work.
Yes.
Right. And make money. And that was a challenge to me. And so a lot of people, when they first go into business, this is a whole other show.
Oh, it is a whole other show.
But they don't know how to be a work creator because we're a work processor. And so work creators, you got to get out and you got to make, I'm going to say not curse, stuff happen.
Yes. Oh, you can curse. Okay.
Right.
You can
make shit happen to generate the activity, whether it's doing a show, whether it's speaking. I have to do a lot of plates I got to spin to, get the inbound lead flow to service our business.
And it takes time. And it's okay that it takes time. I don't think even in small businesses and entrepreneurs realize the IRS says if you're not showing income within 3 to 4 years, at that point, it's probably a hobby in their minds, the tax side of it. But it gives you kind of a goal to say, all right, I don't need to make my first million that first year. I have clients who say, but I'm making money every month. Why do I have a loss at the end of the year? Well, because you overspent things for your business to get it to grow, hopefully in the marketing and advertising and getting out there. And that's okay. And at some point it will turn around. I'll be in business. It'll be 11 years in September. And I'll say the first 5 years on my own, it was tough. It was just money's coming in, but I was spending it faster than I could bring it in because I was trying to grow. I'm over that hump now. I've shifted my business plan a little bit. So I'm kind of stepping back to scale up. It's okay. And I think even in personal finance, it's okay if you have to take a step back or you get yourself into some debt. My husband and I have had lean years, and it's okay.
You gotta live through it. Like, the part of it is the emotional intelligence that, if you're doing the right things, you just gotta kind of pray about it and kind of work through it. As a couple, you got to be on the same page, because that's
absolutely conversation is important.
Major. Like, conversation is important about that, because if you have a partner that's a spendthrift or they're always in your ear, you're not making any money. You need to get the job. You got to have the conversation, and so picking the right partner is critical. Okay, so that
could be a whole nother show too. Whole nother show. Yeah.
But the thing is, especially for young people, that's what young people pick a partner. Are you equally yoked? That's another phrase you don't use anymore.
But it's okay to come from two different mindsets. Is how can you work together to make it work when it comes to finance?
My wife and I are different, but on the important thing, we're conservative and we're the same on how we're going to raise our kids and, certain values that we want to impart. That's what you want to do.
Right. Curtis, this has been phenomenal. So where can people find you if they want to reach out or just know more about what you do?
So you can go to our website, practicalwealthsolutions.net, and, take you to our YouTube channel and our podcast. I've got a gift for you to put in your notes. I have a report I give away that will go into detail of the 5 principles.
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
And it is called The Value of Liquidity.
Okay.
So I'm big on liquidity,
love
right?
it.
Value of liquidity.
Yeah.
And I think I have a picture of Scrooge McDuck on there. Like, they're just rolling in his money.
Yeah,
but that's not what you want, like a big pile of money. It's more about cash flow. So the value of liquidity. And if they will text Be the Bank, all one word, all capitals, we'll send you BTAGBANK, all one word, no spaces, to 55444. And we'll send you out
I love that.
report. And you can find all about, and if you just email me, kurtmay@gmail.com, if you'd like to have a strategy session.
And I'll include all this in the podcast notes, the description when the podcast comes out.
Watch YouTube. You'll find more about the madness that is Curtis.
Oh, I love it. Curtis, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you.
Hey, it's Your Financial Maven, and I want to hear from you. Feel free to leave me your insights and money stories or questions that you may have about money. You can visit www.yourfinancialmavenpodcast.com and click on the I Want to Hear From You tab. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about money. The purpose of this podcast is to provide general information on the subjects discussed. It is for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. You should consult your CPA, accountant, or tax professional for all of your specific financial needs or situations. Your Financial Maven is hosted and produced by Samantha M. Besnoff, CPA, and Your Financial Maven, LLC. Editing is done by Kris Zarnoch of KMZen Creative. Music is written, composed, and performed by Daniel Shore.